I've always been interested in contributing to open source projects. What's a good way to get started? Love that question because there's so many good ways to get started. You could get started by just helping triage issues. So many open source projects have issues where the maintainers, they don't know if it's a real bug or not. A lot of repositories also have what are called good first issues. Home Assistant is this cool open source org. In Home Assistant, look at that. They have 2.9K issues. Do you see that? They have so many labels. That's amazing. Good first issue. Aha! They've already got some here where it's like, this is a good first issue for you to take on and fix. And also generally just thinking, what are some projects that I use, that I care about, that I might be able to help with?
Hi developers. VS Code users can now access a powerful new code completion model, GPT-4o Mini. This model has been trained on over 275,000 high-quality public repositories covering more than 30 programming languages. You can expect this model to provide more accurate suggestions and better performance. To enable it, if you have Command Center enabled, click down the arrow next to the Copilot icon, select Configure Code Completions, choose Change Code Completions Model, and you're set. Alternatively, if you're using the command palette, you can press Ctrl-Shift-P for Windows or Linux, or Command-Shift-P for Mac. Type Change Completions Model, select your preferred model from the dropdown, and that's it. Happy coding.
Honestly, like when I first heard the idea of a hackathon, I was like, that sounds like a terrible way to spend my week. Every developer I've ever met, whether they're writing their first line of code or they're 10 years into their career, has a million ideas on the back burner. And hackathons create this sort of siloed, like magical time and space where you're surrounded by tons of people building stuff. And you're also able to build stuff because you have no distractions. Food is provided, swag is there. I think that hackathons are incredibly powerful at any stage of your career. There's no substitute for setting aside time and place to build.
Hello, friends. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you are. Welcome to Open Source Friday. I'm Andrea Griffiths, a la Colombia dev, and I get to hang out with you today for an hour or 45 minutes. I always like to my guests. And today I have a fantastic guest. Before we get started, I want to say hi to everyone and thank you for joining every Friday, supporting open source, and ask for a little bit of grace. I think whatever bug was going around my kids' school has finally caught me. I fought it, but I think it's finally got me. So apologies in advance if my voice is a little funny today. But what's up, everyone? What's up, Cassidy, Tushar, Nashra? Where's everybody at? I'd love to hear where everyone is joining from. This is one of my favorite people in the whole world. What's up, Kadesha, my teammate, y'all? So good. I have to share a link of a podcast we did with the folks from Red Monk last week. It just went live, I think, yesterday. So good. So you can hear this lady. What's up, Anna? Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Open Source Friday. But you didn't join here to hear my cold written voice. You join us today to hear and learn more about our guest. And I am thrilled because this is someone that I've long admired. The tech world is big, but also kind of tiny. Like we started sort of seeing the same awesome faces when we go to certain conferences or hang out in the same kind of online spaces. And this is a human that I actually have from a distance admire. And then I had the honor of meeting in person and I was like, holy crap, real deal. How cool is it when you meet someone in person and they don't disappoint you? You're not like, wow, that was not what I expected. So I am thrilled and delighted that he accepted the invitation to join us today. I'm going to read his proper bio because accolades must be given. Our guest today is Mark Techson. He is in the Angular core team at Google, an award-winning university instructor and engineer. Mark has a passion for creating meaningful learning experiences and has over a decade of building solutions across tech stacks. He speaks at conferences, he mentors developers, He's excited to continue to make an impact in tech. Lately, Mark has been spending time as a developer relations engineer on the Angular team. And he's also, I dare say, the founder, CEO of the unofficial Hype Squad for your conference. Welcome, Mark. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to see you. Welcome, welcome. Let me unmute you. Did I mute you? It was me. Hang on. Or maybe you muted yourself. It's okay.
All right. See, this is life. That's how you can tell that it's live, friends.
I
at
love
home,
it.
because I was totally muted. No, I was gonna say I'm so happy to see you because I feel like all those nice things you said about me, like being nice in person, I would totally echo those things right back at you because literally meeting you was amazing. You were so kind, you were so smart, and you're just a really, really wonderful person to know.
Mark, stop. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I super appreciate it. And no joke, folks, but if you ever have a chance to attend a conference where Mark is speaking, and we're going to talk about that because I want to tell people where they can go find you and listen to you speak live because that's you're just amazing. Also, for those of you who don't know Mark, but are here because you love Angular, I just saw the Angular movie for the first time, which I had not seen before. I had seen bits and pieces of the documentary that was made for like React, and I think the same team has done a few others. But I just, for the very first time, watched this. And let me tell y'all, we're also in the presence of a movie star because Mark is proudly featured in that movie. And I love everyone to watch it. It's on Netflix. I mean, it should be. It's on YouTube, free. You can just go to YouTube. You can use that little short link there and go to YouTube and watch it. And if you're super invested in Mark's portion, go to like minute 40 something. But I recommend you watch it, period, because it was very, it's a great insight on how a framework comes to exist, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
It had it all. It had drama, it had action, it had moments. So I 100% recommend it. And of course you're in it, so that made it even so much better. Thank you.
I did my own stunts, so there was a lot of work. I was on set for quite a few days. I'm just kidding. Can I just tell you that it's hard for me to get like embarrassed, and I feel like so embarrassed that you're saying all this like stuff. Not because I'm like ashamed, but it's just like, okay, stop. Right, we get it. I've done a couple of things. Let's talk about somebody else. But I know that I'm the guest.
Right? You deserve every one of these accolades, and you're gonna just get them. Okay, so we're just deal with it, and
all right.
Has to say, we get it. I'm amazing. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Stop. Cassie in the building. What's going on?
Awesome. Oh my gosh. Well, welcome. Oh, wait a minute. I left something out of your bio. The host of what? Listen here. Okay. All right. We need like a whole hour just to go over your happenings, your current activities, Mark.
Never I don't even know how I have time for this stuff. I have so much stuff going on, as you can tell. I don't know how I have time to do any of this, but I do get to do this. Lead Heat is a newer thing that I've been doing lately. It is so much fun. It's by codetv.dev, which is led by the wonderful Jason Langsdorfer. And he was like, hey, Mark, I got this idea for a game show. And would you be willing to like just come shoot a pilot with us? And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. Like, I'll come hang out. And we did the pilot. The internet loved it. And it was wild. Andre, can I just tell you that it was like some people, like I saw Wes Boss comment on like the YouTube video, like, oh, this was amazing. This is so good. And I was like, yo, people love this show. And then so we filmed, and there are more episodes coming out, but this has been one of my dreams to like do a game show. So I can't believe I get to do it. It's really, really exciting. Okay, we gotta share a link to this because I feel like I've seen the buzz, but I haven't actually watched an episode. So what's up, friends? No, we gotta watch it. And listen, and for those of you who are here, and if you've seen it, hey, tell a friend. Tell an enemy. You should sign up for the next time that we have a casting call. Jason will put a casting call. You should apply to be on the show. Oh, okay. All right. Well, listen, I got. If there's anything in my team, it is on top talent. Okay. And is it like competitive? Because it's competitive. Oh yeah. So it's trivia for developers. But if you get the wrong answer, you got to take a bite of a like spicy, we call it a spicy bite, where you have to, we put this hot sauce on and you gotta take a bite, and then you gotta continue in the game, right? And then the
Oh,
more you get wrong, the higher the spice level, and by the end, people are just like, they are definitely going through it. It's so much fun. It is such a great time.
my God. Friends, it must be the cold. Like, I get the name now. Like, let go the heat.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, my friend, let's talk about what's happening at your place of employment, your
Mhm.
place of business, because if I've heard it once, I heard it twice. I've been hearing it many times that Angular is going through a renaissance. I
Yeah,
like that. Don't call it a comeback though. Angular has been here
we've
for
been here.
years. But I love to ask you a little bit about, first of all, how long have you been there? Because this is going to help inform what questions I ask you, how far back we
Sure.
want to go. But I'm a forward-looking person, and I think we should talk about the future and what's new and what's hot. I know there's a lot of cool things that have been just recently released, and there's been a couple of shows that you hosted talking to the team about the roadmap. So I want to know all the goodies, and then hopefully, if our audience is super nice, which they are the best open source community in the world, maybe you share screen and cook some demo for us, like show
Yeah.
us some bits and bytes. That would be awesome. All
Sure,
right.
I'd love to do that. I love to do that. Because I honestly love Angular. So I've been here for going on 5 years. In June,
Okay.
it'll be 5 years on the Angular team and 5 years at Google. I started with Angular way back in the version 1 days. I actually helped lead a digital transformation of one of American Express's divisions to go from like JSPs and jQuery over to Angular.
Oh.
So that was one of my first like big like career moments where it was like I was a front end dev and I was like, oh wait, I like this front end idea. And then I got involved, and then they were hiring and they was like, yeah, we want somebody to help us with this actual like problem. And I was one of the people that they hired to do that. So that was really fun. Then yeah, so join the team. Uh, it's been so much fun. I think the Renaissance is interesting because while we've been around for a long time, we've definitely had some ups and downs and some like changes and things that we've gone through as a team, as a platform. Because let's be honest, like people had given us this reputation of being like hard to learn, big, complicated, and not all of that was wrong, right? People were just sharing their experiences. And the one thing that I love about the Angular team is that we were like, oh, this is how they feel. What can we do to improve? How can we make it better? And that's what we've been working on, just improving.
I love that. And it's evident in everything that you put out in the past year. It's evident that that ear has been to the community. So I love that. I love that passion for the team. As a developer relations engineer, is that your job? Did you get to hear people complain and then you go and you tell them? You go and you tell them and you're like, listen, we got to look out for the community.
DevRel is so different depending on what team you work on, what company
True.
you work on, what type of product you work on, right? And so for me, part of that DevRel work is actually doing it. Like I read GitHub issues, right? And I'm just like, man, this feels really bad. Like, what are we doing about this? Or how can I help us figure out a plan to like fix things? I do stuff like that. I talk to lots of developers, and like you said, I do get to hear a lot about their pains and burdens with the framework. And I think like, okay, how can this is what I'm learning and this is what I'm hearing, so what can we do? There's also a part of my work is going through and trying things myself and be like, hey, you do know that this doesn't work, right? Like I know we said about the launch, but this doesn't work. And
Yeah.
so like you wear many so people in DevRel just kind of know this life, right? You wear many hats where sometimes I'm writing some code, sometimes I'm just testing code, sometimes I'm just reviewing code. I mean, it's just like so many different things. But the whole goal that at least I have is to serve the Angular community. I care about Angular developers, and I want to make sure that whatever we put out is the best for them. And so with that heart of service toward our community, that really helps to drive a lot of the work that I do.
That's amazing. So all of those efforts, even your own experiences, funnel into the things that the team implements that are hyping up this renaissance, right? So out of all the things that have most recently changed, like what's something that you're really excited about? I know we're going to talk about signals.
Sure.
And every time something's new, like also I want us to talk to a little bit about how like developers, like what resources you recommend for developers to like get in there and use it to the best that it can be. But what's got you the most excited? Like, what's something that you've been like, okay.
So I'll tell you what I thought was from the future when we made it. So this wasn't something that I was like, oh, developers have this problem and we should fix it. It came from our team. Our team just birthed this like beautiful idea. The idea was about defer syntax, which means that you could at the template level lazy load part of your component at the template level. So you could have, let's say, another component that like did some data fetching, but you weren't ready for it to be shown yet. You could do that at the template level, not at the router level, not at the configuration level, literally at the template level. And I was like, whoa, this is from the future. So when we started adding that work to the framework, I was like, oh yeah, we're really cooking. Like people should take notice because I feel like this is going to be some of the patterns that will be propagated throughout the, not only Angular community, but other frameworks as well.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously you care about performance, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why this is a thing that exists. Developers care about performance. I love that. So that was from the future. And then what else is something that's like really got you excited? I know we talked a little bit about Signal, and Signals is relatively a recent thing, right? Like when did this come out? I was trying to look after the changelog.
So first and foremost, we did not create Signals. This is a design pattern that's been around, right?
But right.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I don't want people in the community to be like, they're taking credit for it. Like,
No. I am so sorry. Okay, yeah. No, that was my bad in the way that I proposed that.
Yeah.
When it comes to Angular.
Right.
When did Signals become a thing?
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So I think we started talking about Signals maybe 3 versions ago.
Okay.
And then now, and we release a major version every 6 months. So that's probably like a year and a half ago, we started talking about it. And we introduced the experimental, then we did developer preview, then we did production ready, right? And so we are doing more and more to expand the scope of what a signal could be. So here's what's really wild about the Signal story. Just literally the other day, we released this idea, what's called a resource. A resource is a special type of signal that handles asynchronous requests. Oh. So you could do something like fetch some data. And if one of the parameters that you use to fetch the data changes, let's say you're using an ID. Okay, so here's a perfect example. Let's think of it like a product page, right? Mm-hmm. And you click to see the details of that product and you want to fetch the data based on the product ID. Right now, you have to do something where like, if a user clicks on a different product, get the ID, pass that to a data request, get the data, then display it on the screen. Well, this idea of a signal is like, a resource is, hey, if you tell me that the ID is a part of our, what we call like reactive expression. Mm-hmm. So this ID can change and it's a signal, and it can change. Every time you change it, I'll rerun this request for you. And then I'll make the results available as a part of a signal that you can then query. Like you can say, is this running right now? Is it loading right now? Is it done? What's the current status? Like this is, and it's still experimental, meaning like not that we have a lab coat on and we're like, hey, is it going to blow up your computer? Not like that. It's experimental, is that the API is going to be refined and changed over time. But this is another feature where I'm thinking like, okay, this is an idea that really can help move like signals forward for everyone, right? Like we'll start here, but I think like Ryan Carniato was also thinking in the same like vein, right? Like how do you do asynchronous things with signals, where signals right now are really focused on like synchronous things that, that happen right now, right? Where asynchronous is like unpredictable. You don't know when or if it's going to happen.
Ooh, okay. So for developers who've never worked with signals,
mm-hmm.
Are you seeing any challenges out there? Like what did you recommend for them?
Sure. So signals in general, I think the thing that you have to do, because our API, I think it's straightforward, but I'm very close to the problem. So sometimes it can be a little skewed, right? I think it's straightforward, but the best thing you can do is just use them. Use them and get familiar with this pattern, because what signals do as a foundation for us is really, really interesting. And what I mean by that is, if you think about where we can go, because at some point, and we'll talk about the future as well, but at some point we want our signals, like data state changes, to be able to drive like what we call the change detection flow, which is how does Angular know to re-update the screen, right? So in React, at one point when I used to do React, you use set state. And then that meant like, okay, the data changed, now let's go and re-render everything. So how does Angular do it right now? We have this automated process, which is really nice until you have to scale. But we're thinking like, what if we could only update the smallest, like we call it fine grain, like the smallest part of the template, because only that data changed, right? Signals are like an early step toward that level of what we call fine grained reactivity.
That's awesome. What use case you think that's, I mean, you gave us one, like for example, like a regular like sales site, you pick your product, what have you. What other use cases are gonna like have the most advantages from this switch to using signals?
Oh, I love that question. So let's talk a little bit about what a signal is and how it changes your data flow, because I
Let's do
think that'll
it.
help developers better understand what the value proposition is. That's a great question. So a signal is like a variable that can notify anyone who's interested that the data has changed. Because right now, let's say if you want to know if the username changed for like, let's say somebody entered a username into a form field, right? You're like,
Okay.
okay, how do I know if that changed? Well, you got to get the old value, compared to the new value. And that's, it's very imperative, right? And then you would do something based on if that changed. Well, signals are like, hey, I'll give you the same value of like being able to store a value. So let's say in this cup, I have a eyeglass cleaning thing, right? So let's say this is a variable. And a regular variable, if you put something in here, nobody knows that I've changed this. Like nobody has any idea. I have to check imperatively. But with a signal, it's like, wait, hey everyone, there is something in here now. There is a specific item. Here is the item. If you care about this, if you've been reading my value, now you can know. Right. And so signals give you this like reactive paradigm. So now you just are reacting to the changes in state versus having to seek those changes out yourself. And this is a really powerful paradigm that reduces some of the developer burden with imperative, like, okay, if this happened, then do this. It's like, no, this thing happened, therefore I do the right thing as a response.
That's awesome. Can you share any of like performance, any feedback that you've had or that you've seen internally at your team, like just from using signals versus like other approaches, maybe more traditional?
Sure. So right now we don't have the performance. I don't have the performance. I don't have the performance numbers right at the top of my head, or like the idea. But the idea is that we will be building toward a more clear performance story, right? But like
Okay.
this is like the first level, right? It's like, okay, first we're to get this foundation in. Let's get signals. But I can say that we shared signals with some other teams at Google, specifically the team that works on YouTube, and they saw a significant boost in their application using signals.
Oh,
Right.
nice.
And so for the mobile web application, let me be very clear. For the mobile web application, they saw a very significant boost. And we wrote about this, and then so the data's out there. I wish I had it in front of me, but next time I'll make it available.
Oh, you're good. No, I read something somebody else from your team wrote about, maybe it was one of those future looking roadmap things. And I think that they might have touched on some of those data points. I'll find it and share it here. Okay, that sounds really interesting. Are you up for showing us? You think you could demo
Heck
signals
yeah.
for you? Yay, awesome. Awesome.
Totally
And
up for
friends,
that.
if you have questions for Mark, like feel free to drop them in the chat and I'll be happy to ask them. But I'm looking forward to seeing this. And thanks for sharing that. That was gonna be one of my questions, like are other teams at Google using it besides the Angular team? That's cool.
Okay, so let's do. Okay, I'm on the screen. So I already know this is too small. Everyone at home, don't yell at me. And make this super big here. Okay, so I'm just gonna create. So I actually kind of started working on this. Just having a project. So we have the Angular CLI, which is our tooling that will help you to create and manage your applications, right? For your Angular application. So I'm gonna do a new application. I'm gonna call it Angular Demo. I want to be minimal, and I want my styles and templates in line. And to save us some time, I'm gonna just ask for the defaults. So that'll quickly create an application. What you'll see is that it's creating a few files, like our component file, routing included by default. One of the things that Angular, one of our like biggest claims to fame, is that we include all the things that you need. So you're not thinking like, okay, I have Angular, which router do I need, or which solution for this other thing do I need? We are all in one kind of out of the box solution. All right, so this is ready. So if I just did, if if I typed in front of a bunch of people on the internet and tried to make this work. Okay, so I can close this window, I think, and then I can make this big, and I'm going to make all of this. Okay, so we close this, and then we zoom in a bunch. I did the wrong thing. Okay, so let me go back, and I need to do code of my Angular demo. When you have to type in front of people,
it's nerve-wracking. It's the worst. It really is.
I know how to type. Let's see, demo. Okay. Know how to type. Okay, there we go. Okay, much more realistic. I'm like, why is every repository I ever worked on? Let me hide this little thing. All right, cool. So how would you start an Angular application to even know if anything's working? So the way you do that is through our CLI. So I'll do ng, which is short for like Angular ANG. So ng, and just do serve. You can know what I'm doing. That's fine. We have really cool features built into this thing. One of the things is we integrate with Vite for a dev server. So I know a lot of developers were asking for that. One of the things that I love about this tool, there's our simple browser that we can use in VS Code. So I'm going to use it right now because I love it. And then I don't have to keep switching back and forth between windows. Okay, great. We got an Angular demo. Feels good. Feels great. All right. I was looking at the chat. Someone said, I think Cassidy was like, my worst typos are in public. Listen, I cannot type a single thing when people are watching me.
True story. No,
this worst experience. So how do you start with an Angular application? So in your project, you go into source app, and then you would choose, let's say, your component. And a component is the same idea. It's the basic building block of any application.
Okay.
Right? If you're in any framework, a component is like the basic building block. And this is where we get to decide what goes on the screen. So our root component, I'm just going to take out our template code right now. Oh, okay. Here, I'm going to take out this. We don't need routing just yet. So I'm just going to clean this up just to make life a little bit easier for everybody. And I'll take out this thing. Okay. So our template, we can do what we call like an inline template. So templates can be in the file or they can be in a separate file. We totally get to choose. Just keep things nice and easy for us today. We'll keep everything in the same file. All right, so let's just look at how some of these cool things work. So remember we were just asking about signals, for example, right? So I don't want a title. Let's say if I had first name, I actually like this. This would be good. This would be good. So we'll say this is a signal, and then it'll be Mark. Okay, we'll import signal from Angular core. We'll save that. Now this first name variable, anytime it changes, the application will know, and there's no imperative changes that I need to like manage myself. It's all going to be reactive. So in my section, I'm going to add a p tag, and I want to autocomplete there. Nice. Saving some time. Now, if we look at our browser, we should see Mark if this worked. Okay, hello, Mark. Oh, that's super tiny. Let me see if I can get this to zoom in. Okay, how do you zoom in this browser? Because that's so tiny. I don't know if I can do anything with that. Okay, that might be the weakness of the browser here in the terminal or in the editor.
It's okay. We can see it though.
Yeah, I just hate it when it's like hard for people to see what I'm working on, because then I don't want anybody to get lost. So what I'm going to do just for fun, it's going to be annoying, but I'm just going to do font size, and I'm just going to make everything like, let's say like 30 point. That's going to be huge, I think, right? But that should be fine. Okay, but that's really legible. That's what I really care about. Okay. So I said zoom in with H1. Okay, here we go. So now we got that going, but that's not the magic, right? Like, okay, sure, it's being read, but what if we could change it? So how could we change this thing? So what we can use is we can use an input, type equals text, right? And then we could use this thing, ng model first name. This thing is moving. I have a really strong feeling about this, and I'm just like, it's amazing at the same time. Like when you use like code assistants,
the autocomplete
code, it's like it's so fast that before I can even say it, it's like completed. So I have to like remember that I know what to do, so therefore it's okay.
Okay.
If I didn't know what to do, I feel like the coding assistants make me feel like a little slower, because I'm like, I don't know what this code means, but I know what to do, so I don't mind it completing things that I already knew what to do. Yeah. Okay. So here's what we need to import. We need to get the forms module, because we want forms module. So here's why we want that. Okay, why don't you like? Is it form? It's not form module. It's forms module. I wanted it to autocomplete for me, but
the one time,
the one time I wanted to. So forms module. I think that should be from at Angular/forms. Okay, yeah. It's like you couldn't autocomplete the thing I actually wanted you to autocomplete. So why do I have an error? Because I don't have a comma. Okay, so we're getting closer, and then this does not become first names, becomes okay. Now here's what I've done. Let's talk about what I've done on line 9. So I have my input, type equal text. This ng model is what we call a directive. And so what this is doing is like it's binding the first name signal to this form input. So it's like creating this like two-way binding here. So that way the values will be represented in both places. And you'll see what I mean. You see, I never said what the default value was because the value of the name is Mark. So it shows up in the form, but here's where it also works. So now I'm changing the value of that signal and it's showing up right in my template here. Right now, okay, so let me show you some cool stuff, some really cool magic here. A signal is cool, but it computed is ice cold. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. So you usually have this situation when you write an application. You're like, hey, I want to. Oh, first and foremost, I forgot to say a huge shout out to somebody. My wife came up with the last name Techson as my public persona, like / stage name. And I always have to give her credit for it because people say, well, how'd you come up with that name? It was not me. My wife is very clever. And she was like, oh, yeah, your name's Thompson. How about Techson? And it stuck and I love it. Okay.
That's gold right there. That's awesome.
So what you'll normally want to do here is something like this. You usually want to interpolate having, here, I want to put both of these in here. Okay. You want to have like last name and then I thought I completed. All apologies, like Nirvana. Okay. Let's see. And then I should be able to do this. Okay, did I not do this right? We just introduced this new feature where you could do untagged template literals in your expressions. And for some reason, I must have done something wrong. So instead of spending our time debugging that, because I don't know what I did wrong, I'm just going to do it the easy way. And then I'll come back in my own time and figure out, we just released that feature like 2 days ago. So
wow.
I don't know what didn't I type? You know what I mean? I don't know what I didn't type to make it work. But it's okay. But you'll normally want to do this. Like first name equals last name. Plus last name. But then what if you want to do like full name? So the question is, how do I keep this in sync? Because guess what could happen? The first name could change or the last name could change, right?
Right.
So how do I keep them both in sync? Well, a computed is your answer here. So I don't want, because the computed allows you to have a signal that has a derived value, meaning it's based on one or more other signals.
Oh, okay.
So I can just say, well, my computed is actually my first name or last name. So if I change the first name, so I'm going to take this out of here because this is one way to do it. But you're like, look, I don't want to type that every single time. Why can't I just type full name? Right? Now check this out. This is about to be so crispy. So you can see I have the full name being displayed on the screen at this time. If I change the first name I put my middle initial. You see that? So that full name is already updated every single time. But if you look at the code, there is no imperative linking here. I'm not saying if first name has changed, update full name. If last name has changed, update last name, right? The full name is based on the current value of the signals, because remember, a signal will tell you if my value changes. Anyone who's interested, you can also see the updated value. And guess who's interested? This computed. How do we know it's interested? Because it's doing a signal read.
Oh, that is cool. That is very cool.
Yeah, this is good. This is good. But I want to say something else. There's the other thing I was talking about before. I don't know where that last. Oh, that's from autocomplete. Okay. We can do something like this. Now this is like magic, and I seriously wholeheartedly believe that this is like from the future. Like this is just really cool. So now I have defer, right? Now this says delay the shipping of this block of like code to the browser. Do not ship it to the browser until the requirement is met.
Okay.
Right. So what I mean by that is right now the requirement is blank because that means it's going to say by default on browser idle signal. When the browser sends an idle value or idle state, this will do. But you can also say on hover. Wait, is that how you do it on hover? Wait a minute. See, this is when I have to look this up. Hold on. And I'm not ashamed of that because I don't remember the syntax right.
Listen, that's who's gonna remember all the syntax all the time? That's what documentation is for.
That's what the documentation is for, exactly. I'm like, that doesn't hurt my feelings if somebody's like, you don't know it? No, not by heart. I mean,
it's so real. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. So I know, again, I know what to do. I just got to remember how to say it, right? So let me see if I can find the thing that I'm looking for. Let's see, it's on hover. It's supposed to be on hover, but let me see. So it's the trigger. I got my trigger, and it's on hover. Let me see the syntax. Did I just do it wrong? Why don't you like this? Okay, let me see why it doesn't like it.
Let's see.
Oh, I did have the right syntax. So here's something else that you get to do. You get to set a placeholder to be displayed while you wait for this thing to be loaded.
Okay.
Right? So we'll say, we'll leave a message. Hover to load the the name. That's fine. Okay. So you can't do so you can't put this other trigger unless you put a placeholder. That is just a thing. That way you can know, you can do the same. That makes sense to me. See, so the name is not there, but as soon as I hover, everything that we did.
Okay. That is cool.
But I want to show you how real this is. Okay. Can I just show you how real from
Let's see it.
This is like super magic. Okay, I'm gonna show you how real this is. Because what that could look like, if you just look at it at first, it looks like it's just a DOM manipulation, right? Like, oh yeah, we're just hiding it and showing it. So let's go to the network, and I'm gonna put my. Oh, okay. Here, I'm gonna try to drag this over because what's on the screen isn't that important. I'm gonna zoom in here too so we can all see. But here's why I think this is special. All these things just got, shipped to the browser. Okay, here's all these chunks. We can see these chunks here. I'm going to clear this. We're going to see another chunk get shipped to the browser. Where's my chunk? What happened to it? Wait a minute. The network tab changed, but something happened. Hold on. I'm not happy with this. Why can't I see it? Hold on. Because I'm 100% not playing around about this. Okay, let me make sure. What did I do something? Because I want to show when the JavaScript gets shipped, because it's not there when you start.
Right. Because it's on that deferred, like delaying. It's on that delay stage.
Right. So I want to see it. Oh wait, did it already come in? Okay. Oh, okay. So let me do this.
Hover to load the name, and we hover.
Oh, okay. I got an error. Okay. Error storage not allowed. Why is it giving that error every time I do that? Is that every time? Let me see. Okay. I don't know what I've done here, but that could be my problem. Could be, but I don't want to. What's this? Something is happening. Nope, that's not it. I mean, you can see that the DOM changed, so now it's complaining that I didn't have an ID or a name. But why can't it? This makes me so disappointed because I was like hyping it up so much that you could see the chunk of JavaScript get shipped.
Is it the placeholder? No. Like why? No, because it's not loading anything after the.
Yeah, like what the heck?
You hover.
What to heck? Let me see if this is in here anywhere. What does it say? Placeholder. Okay, so you can see some of this. Wait, hold on. I'm not giving up on showing this.
Don't give up. Don't give up.
Because I really want to show that it's not shipped. Like that's the whole point of defer, is that it's not shipped until. Oh, could that be it? Let me try.
It's not just sitting there cluttering, but it only happens when it gets that directive.
Yeah.
And yes.
So I want to show that like specifically. So I'm gonna just build it real quick.
Do it.
And I'm gonna run it as like an application, like with a web service. I'm gonna do npx, right? And then I'm gonna do HTTP server and see if this matters. And if it doesn't, I mean, if this isn't the answer, then I'll just have to re-educate myself on this demo, evidently. Browser. So we want to serve. Okay, so that's our bundle right there. That's our main bundle.
Okay.
So we're gonna run this. npx lets you just run any like node package or anything, like kind of like as the executable. And I'm running the HTTP server without installing it. Okay. So let's do this. We're gonna take this, and then we're gonna come back here, and we're gonna put that in there. So that should be the same app.
There we go.
Okay. And it still doesn't show. I honestly don't know what I'm missing here. I don't know why it's not showing anymore, but I promise you that there is. Oh, could I let me see. Let's just see if I like no. I'm gonna throttle it just to show that it should take some time. Okay, so yeah, so let's see. Nope, that didn't even prove it. I don't know what I did wrong here, Andrea, but you get the idea though. I don't want to all the time on this, but the idea is that this is shipped later. It's deferred.
Right.
And it's not just a hide or show.
And so like real world scenario of what I would use that for, like my pages, for example, I don't know, like if you have like a big catalog of things and you want to show like reviews or something else, like using like, for example, the hover state. And so not until the action of selecting you actually load the next thing, will be it reviews or pricing or whatever. So
exactly,
super huge for like, I don't know, I think like e-commerce things, maybe like prioritizing that performance. That's really cool.
Okay,
That's
I
really
got
cool.
an idea. I can't give up on this. I mean, you tell me if we're taking too much time on this.
No, we're good. Listen, this is what I love about this. This is why we're here, because we're all learning. We're going through it. Chris has an idea. Chris, your idea is, it didn't look like there would have been something separate to load. Looking at the distribution files, what file would have actually had to defer?
Right. I agree to that. So would it have to defer? Exactly. That's why I'm going to make another component. That's why we're going to make another component. That's right. See, I like that energy. I like that thinking. So instead of this component, this will be like a comments component. We'll call it app comments, because this will be the idea, just like you mentioned, like with some other thing that could be something heavy or loaded, you know what I mean? That like it's going to make a request. For example, if you have all the comments on the article, you got 6 million comments. You don't want to load that in case people care about it.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's what we're going to do. Okay. Now we're cooking. We're going to get our template, and then we're going to say comments component, say P comments component, because maybe the way I did it didn't make a lot of sense, and that's okay because we're about to cook. I don't even need the styles, but I'll keep that. Okay, this is all we need. That's all we need. And then here, we're going to be able to use it, we have to do, yep, exactly. Okay, we got that going. So then instead of loading this, we can put all of this just to show that we aren't like doing something funky, no funky business here, right? So we'll say hover to load comments. Oh yeah, okay. So then I just want to make it even more fun. See, now I want to make it more fun.
Okay. Hey, thanks, Open Source Friday family. Troubleshooting, debugging this live.
Yeah, come back. No,
audience participation for the win.
All right. It. So we got our 3 comments loaded there.
Okay.
Great. And then we got it here. We're just gonna put our app comments, and we could do self-closing tag. Doesn't seem like a big deal, but it is cool that we introduced that thing like a year and a half ago, but it was something small. So now if I do my ng serve, this should work. Because I think that what it was doing differently is that because the code that we were deferring was already a part of this component, it was already being shipped, I think. I believe that could be it. Right. That's what Chris said, right. That there wouldn't be something separate to load. Yes, I agree. I agree.
Hi, Donald. And look, you got some love for self-closing tags. It's
Yeah.
the little things, okay?
It's the small things, developer experience, right? Like
Yes.
that matters. Okay, so now let's go back to our localhost 4200. Okay, let me open up my thing here. All right, I'm gonna clear out this. Here we go. What the fun? I still don't see anything.
It's not all at once. I don't know why.
Still,
Why?
why? That's why is a good question. Why? Why is it showing all at once? I don't know what I'm doing incorrectly here, but I had a separate thing. Maybe there's something I'm missing in my setup that would make this work. And I apologize, friends, for letting you down and not having it there. So
That's okay. No, that's okay. I mean, but that is how you do it, though. That is the fur. So I'm also like, it didn't like something. We don't know why.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm looking at the chat and they're saying try building from production again. Yeah, I will try again. This is so surprising to me. I'm just so like, there's an old Ronald Isley song. He goes, I put my hands on my head because I'm so confused. That's how I feel right now. Like the Isley Brothers, just like,
we're gonna
why?
figure it out. Let's see.
Yeah, but this is cool. So just as we're talking about Angular, like even the stuff that I'm showing in the template, for example, like this is all new syntax, like line 10, this idea of this like at block syntax. These are things that we've added to make things work a lot better for developers. And we're really hoping that developers are able to appreciate the developer experience improvements and that it adds value to them, right? That's what we really care about. Because if it's not for the developers, it doesn't really matter. Okay. I'm going to go back to okay, network is still open. And I still don't see anything. I'm going to ask the team about this after the stream because I really have to know. Oh, wait. Did I miss it?
Wait a minute.
Wait, did I miss it? Hold on. Wait, have I been looking at the wrong thing? Okay, so let me clear this. There it is.
Aha! Okay.
Success. I wasn't being a Fibonacci sequence. I wasn't telling a fib. There it is. Now we're back in the building. You see, so when I loaded that component, here's a preview of what we got. I mean, it's just like not machine code, but it's like minified. But here's our comments, right? Right there. You can see them right there.
Yep.
There's our comments. Okay. I wasn't making it up. That's for you friends at home. There you go.
Listen, I'd like to thank our amazing audience and you for your resilience on this. I would have given up 10 minutes ago. Like this is a bug, y'all. It's a bug.
Right. Like something I'm right. But they were on the right track. Chris and the team over there were on the right track because when I tried to load this part of this template, it's probably an optimization that we make that it is gonna, if you put a defer of a part of the template that's not an external resource, that is probably just gonna ship it and then do something, to optimization. But I know that the app components, like the comments here, those were a different component. So imagine now if you have a huge like sub app, for example, maybe your user goes there. Okay, here's a really good idea to think about. Let's say you have a enterprise level application where one of the features or one of the functions is like maybe an admin panel.
Okay.
Right. Not everybody has access to that admin panel. You could defer load that, for example, or you could lazy load it, or maybe there are parts of the admin like feature set that you defer, or you have some other trigger, because you can do custom triggers with this. Like you could say wait a certain amount of time. You could say based on some other values. So there are lots of ways that you could combine this defer at the template level with defer or lazy loading at the router level with other optimizations throughout your application. So this is another optimization tool that you get to use, right? So you combine this stuff together with things like server-side rendering or pre-rendering, hybrid rendering. You get the tools to really build something special for your users with your applications. And like this is just like one part of the story with like defer and signals. But we're working on a lot of stuff, right? To help move Angular to the future. So
that's amazing. Yeah. The future is what is it? Zoneless. The zoneless future of Angular.
Yeah. Should we talk about that?
Let's do it. We got 8 minutes, and if you're cool with it, I'd love to hear a bit about
Yeah,
that.
I would love to. Here, let me unshare. All right. Oh, unshared. Okay, so here's zoneless. For the people who may not be familiar with this part of Angular, the way that we know to re-render a component on the screen is through this idea of a zone, right? So imagine a zone being a box, right? Just a visible box, right? So you got this zone, and inside that zone, anything that happens that fires an event or maybe some state changes, the zone is able to capture it because it's inside that box. This means for you as a developer, you're never typing something like set state or update or anything like that. You're never typing anything because the zone knows, right? And that sounds really good because then I just get to change things and I get to make updates. And then my application is always rendering the latest data. Here's where we find the drawbacks. At scale, it doesn't work the same way.
Okay.
Right? At scale, we found a lot of performance issues, and then developers were building these massive applications and saying, hey, the zone is actually limiting me. I'm not able to build and do what I really want to. So we ended up having to think about what is an alternative. And so zoneless is this idea that we actually, instead of having that box, that's automatically picking up all those changes, we're like, hey, we're going to use a signal. And the signal at some point will be like, all right, I know what changed. The state changed. We check the signal graph. The state changed. Let's do some updates. So right now we have an experimental version of zoneless. It's not driven completely by signals yet, right? We still have what we call our change detection algorithms. We're still doing that, but without the overhead of the zone, it enables us to have even nicer APIs, nicer developer experience, and eventually better performance for large scale applications.
I appreciate that thoughtfulness on the incremental change. That's what's up. Awesome. Okay. So we'll learn what zoneless means, how you're transitioning into that, a bit about signals, all good stuff. What's the one thing you're the absolute most excited about what's coming up for Angular? And I know that you share some of the things here, and like the magic look magical, but anything else on the pipeline that we might have not discussed that you're super excited about?
I can tell you. So wait, let me share my screen one more time because
let's do it.
Because I can show it better than I can say it. Because this is a nice feature that I think will 100% improve the lives of developers. Okay, so right now, people watching closely notice that if I want to use the comments component, I had to import it at the file level. Then I had to import it at the component level. And that feels like doing the same work twice to developers, even though we on the Angular team understand why we have it this way. But to developers, this feels like boilerplate. Because I feel like what they want to be able to do is say, well, I have the comments component. Why can't I do this? Right? And then skip out on this guy, right? Okay. Why doesn't that work? And so we call this selectorless because this selector right here, and even if we go into the comments component, you'll be able to see it as well. Oops, come on. Okay. You see, we have to define the selector. So that's how we're able to reference components. You see what I'm saying? And so what we want to be able to do is not have that limitation. We want to be able to have selectorless for components. And I think that will be a really nice modern update. It doesn't feel like it's a massive change, but it's a big boost in developer experience, and it unlocks other things, I think, for people, because having to have it in the imports array, for example, I think it complicates things for people. And that's something we're working on. We don't have a set date for when something like that will be available, but we are a team that's like, look, when it's ready, you'll get it, right? Like we don't hold on to it. We'll give it to you when it's ready. But that's something that we're really excited about. And that's something I'm really excited about.
That's awesome. So selectorless components in the future, all good stuff, all really good stuff, all really developer experience, like developer love stuff. I love that. That's amazing. I have a question from the audience, and I want to make sure we get to it before we're out. From Adolfo. So to get the best performance from no zone, the change detection should be on push, or doesn't matter?
Yeah, we still recommend right now by default on push.
Okay.
Good question.
Awesome. Mark, you've been amazing. This has
Oh,
been extremely, extremely, extremely educational. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing what's exciting, what's coming up for Angular. I think, I don't know, Renaissance, it just doesn't feel like the right. What's another way of saying Renaissance? But it's just like you're already Renaissance, but you're being here. Your
yeah.
golden age, the golden age of Angular. You're welcome, Google.
Okay.
Trademark that.
Okay, I'm like the golden. Write that down. Now, the golden age of Angular. No, that's interesting because I have been talking with other team members. Like, okay, what is the next way to describe the work that we've been doing?
Yeah.
Right? Because I think the Renaissance was like, okay, cool. We're back. To the people. Like people notice us again. But like now, we're just like doing work. You know what I mean? We're just putting in work.
Yes.
And
It 100% shows. It 100% shows. That is so awesome. That is so awesome. Where can we keep up with the latest Angular news? I know you do streams yourself on the
I do.
Angular YouTube channel, right?
That's
So
right.
let's share a link to that so that folks can go ahead and, of course, subscribe to this channel to friends so I can continue to stay employed and bring awesome people like Mark to talk to us about open
That's right.
source. But then, hey, take a gander by Angular's. That interview you did like 3 weeks ago with Minko was really, really interesting. So you can
Yeah, that
take a
was
look.
great. He
Yeah.
talked in depth about stuff. So yeah, you can find us on Angular YouTube channel. Head over to angular.dev if you want to learn Angular. We have some great tutorials and that you can try in the browser. No setup, no install needed. You just go through the browser on angular.dev. If you care about anything I'm doing, you can, if you just search Mark Techson, Techson. I'm on Blue Sky, marktechson.dev. I'm on Twitter or X at Mark Techson, YouTube Mark Techson, TikTok Mark Techson, everywhere Mark Techson.
And the wife should be getting royalties every time somebody clicks on that name because just saying. That is a really good. That is a really
It is
golden.
very good. And I would tell you, I make sure that she's well taken care of because of that,
Good.
because without
Good.
her, this whole system doesn't work. So
I appreciate that. Listen, shout out to the people that are supporting us. That's awesome. Just
that's
how
right.
the Angular Framework core team is supporting us here today, making all these improvements for you devs. Mark, where are you going to be next? What you got coming up? Where can we see you talk? Where
Oh,
can we
yeah, sure.
activate the high squad next, please?
Oh, yeah.
What's
So I'll be in
happening?
the front row screaming for people at Epic Web Dev in March.
Nice.
And I'm giving a talk in March there. But I'll be there just hyping people up. Then I'll be in Greece at DevOps Greece in April. So if you're in Europe and you're around, come to that. If you're in the States, or if you're in Europe or Latin America, you want to come up and come hang out at Epic Web Dev, come by there. It's going to be a great time. It's actually one of my favorite conferences. Kent C. Dodds is a great friend of mine, and his conference is very good, actually. Very, very good. Very, very like welcoming environment. So I'll be at Epic Web Dev. I'll be at DevOps Greece. Just come hang out with us. Definitely check out the things that Google is doing. We got Google I/O coming up. So play the puzzle, reveal the date, get involved.
Oh yes, let's go ahead and share that day because that's coming up fast and furious, friends. Like May is gonna be here before you know it. So I'm gonna ahead and share that. I'm gonna have to make it to Google I/O one day. You got a lot of my friends over there now.
Yeah, Google I/O is such a fantastic place. I got my start at Google because of Google I/O. When I got there, I went as a community member and I had a Googler like sit down and talk with me and honestly say, Mark, I think you could do it if you tried. And
Get
I'm like,
out.
no, I can't do it. I'm like, it's too much work. It's too hard. And I was like, don't waste my time. Right. Don't waste my time. And he's like, no, you could do it. And I said, okay. And then when the opportunity came for me to apply, I applied, went through the process, and I was able to get in here at Google. And it's been an incredible journey ever since. So Google I/O has a special place in my heart.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that with our audience because we actually talked about this in Robert Duck Thursdays the other day about conferences are expensive and it takes a lot for you to like align everything for you to make it. But the possibilities, like the networking, and you just never know. Like it's so good. It's so good. Look at that. That's freaking awesome. All right.
Yeah.
And look, Donald Silva says that your explanation is incredible. So the right man for the job. Thank you so much.
Thank
you. Mark, I appreciate you. Friends, don't forget to follow Mark online, all places. I'm going to share your X here, but you are Mark Techson everywhere. So if you live in the Blue Skies or other places, If you want to learn Angular, you're just catching this stream and it's not been on your radar, hey, do it, go for it. Love it that you don't need to download anything to try. Just go to angular.dev and you can take it out for the spin. Subscribe to their YouTube channel, follow Mark so that you can keep abreast of what's coming up. It sounds like there is so many like really cool things coming for the Angular community this year. So I look forward to doing one of this, I don't know, end of year, next year. We'll look at as you're coming into the end of the golden or I don't know, it wouldn't end. So just the continuation of the golden era of Angular. But Mark, you're always invited. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time today.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
All right. Well, we're going to let Mark go because I already lied to him about how much time we're going to spend, like I always do. But you're the best. Thank you for being here, Mark. Folks, don't forget to follow Mark. Send them so much love on socials. I honestly, it just never ceases to amaze me when I have somebody on doing a demo, the demo fails. And this is the quality of amazing open source people that come through here, that they don't do what I would do. They don't break down and give up and cry. They keep going at it. And then we couldn't do this without all of you and your audience participation, helping us actually figure out the problem live, and then being so attentive and involved. For real. Thank you. We'll see you again next week. We have a pre-recorded stream. We're going to be talking to the folks from LMLH. If you've ever been to a hackathon, you probably know what Major League Hacking is. It's going to be a quick one, but it's going to be a fun one. So I hope everyone has a chance to come through and check it out. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you're watching us on LinkedIn, leave us a comment. I think our boss does look through those comments. So, hey, help us out here. And we appreciate you. Now, if you are interested in coming on the show and showing us your open source project, I will share the link to this. I feel like it's been a moment since we've done that. And I'll give you a quick TLDR about how it works. So some folks we actually reach out to when we're like super fortunate, like I got to meet Mark. And so that's how I ask him to come on the stream. But if you have your own open source project, you're a heavy contributor, you're part of the core team, or you just see a project that you think, hey, that would be a good fit for this show, just please direct them to that repo where you can open an issue, and myself and my amazing team, Make It Asia, will take a look, and then we'll get you scheduled to come on. So take a look at the criteria. We do have like a little bit of a tiny linter of, to get you here, so it brings the most value for our audience. But we super appreciate the time of everyone that joins us every week. We love you. We'll see you next week. Stay tuned for, what am I going to play you off with today? Oh, yeah. About 6 minutes of Copilot agent magic. So enjoy. See you next time.
The February 2025 updates to Visual Studio Code make Copilot an even more powerful AI pair programmer. For starters, until now, GitHub Copilot in VS Code's editor worked from your cursor position. Next edit suggestions means Copilot can now offer suggestions on the next edit you might need based on the changes you've been making. We started creating a runner class, but after creating the constructor, we get an error because we forgot to set up the fields. Next edit suggestions detects we probably want those fields, so makes those suggestions. We can manually accept or reject by using the icon on the left, or select tab to complete the operation. Next edit suggestion then suggests a getInfo method to provide read access to the runner data. Let's accept these by selecting tab to move to the edit, and then tab again to perform the accept. Now it's time to add in shoe preferences. Copilot suggests brand and size, and after creating the interface, Next Edit Suggestions realizes we likely want this on the runner. It adds the field, the update to the constructor, and then finally to the getInfo method, allowing me to tab through all the suggestions and code that much faster. Looking at a larger task, we have a website called Runner Tracks, which has a page that shows the results of a race. We want to improve the paging for our table, as there can often be a lot of participants. We can use Copilot Chat to make a change to the Svelte file we have open here. I'm going to use the model picker and choose one of our newest options, OpenAI's O3 Mini. We ask Copilot Chat to make the buttons look prettier, then apply the suggested changes. Let's check, and yes, those blue buttons look much nicer, so let's accept the change. With that complete, let's keep iterating. We want to let the user select how many rows they want on each page. This will require more than just one file change. Copilot edits can make suggestions across a number of files. We can let Copilot find the files to change, but let's add in a few files to the working set and then ask for the change. You'll see in this case, I'm using Claude 3.5 Sonnet, demonstrating the ability to select different models. Copilot Edits has the suggested changes to all 3 of those files in one go. It even gives me a summary of the changes it's made. Let's save, take a look at the site, and there we go, a working dropdown to select how many rows the table should display. However, our team has even more suggestions for the UI. And what more common way to explain what they want than a screenshot with some hand-drawn markup? Until now, Copilot Chat could only work with text, but now Copilot has vision capabilities. We can attach the image by pasting and ask Copilot to implement the changes shown in the image. We'll apply those changes, save the file, have a look at our website, and sure enough, the column alignment has been fixed, and just from a screenshot. Let's turn our attention to an even more complex task. Our Runner Tracks website has a page listing races, and we want the ability to search for a race by name. This is going to require changes to a number of files in our project: services, server-side code, UI, and tests. Copilot now supports agent mode, allowing it to reason and iterate over an entire project to perform complex operations. Copilot starts by exploring our project to determine what updates need to be made. It begins updating the backend service, and then the UI, making the necessary changes. Once it completes those, it turns its attention to the tests, the unit tests for the service and the page, and the end-to-end tests. With the tests updated, we're then prompted to run the unit tests. Our unit tests fail because the existing ones didn't align with the new functionality. Copilot detects this issue and makes the changes, prompting us to then rerun the tests. When those succeed, we're prompted then to run the end-to-end tests. We can see I forgot to stop another testing process that was using the port. Fortunately, Copilot is there to help me out, generating the command to stop the process and run the tests. Everything passes, and if I look at the website one more time, I can see the new functionality. Finally, let's build some backend services. We want to allow our Runner Tracks website the ability to associate races with fundraisers. We need a fundraiser service modeled like the other ones we have in our app. It needs to understand the structure and the schema we've been using in the rest of our code base. If we ask Copilot naively to create the service, it lacks the necessary context to both understand that underlying schema and how we want the service to be constructed. Context is key whenever we're working with AI. Let's start things over, but this time we'll reference a prompt file to give more specific information about how we want things implemented. Prompt files are markdown files kept in the .github/prompts folder of your project. They can even reference other files, in this case a Prisma schema that describes the shape of our database. We have notes about our code preferences, and we've even included a template for how we want our services constructed. When we send the prompt again, you can see that extra context means Copilot does a much better job this time. This looks like exactly what we want, thanks to Copilot and our prompt file. With the new updates to Visual Studio Code and GitHub Copilot, you have an additional set of capabilities to allow you to be even more productive.